Hello, good evening and welcome to my humble model railway, Bedstead Junction. Paul Cherry Trains here. Now tonight we're going to feature some tank engines, and it's all because of a question which was raised. Now it says here a question raised from my running session of the Bachmann 56XX tank engine from the hoplites, I think it's called, yeah. Hello Paul, I know that Sam found that the rear coupling derailed coaches it was pulling since it was rigid. Do you have the same problem, please? Right, okay. Now I'm not one to contradict or to argue against Sam. That's his own personal experience. I can only show you mine. And this is going to be with both coaches and with wagons, okay? Now, so far I've not had any problems, and if you think about it, there's a lot of locomotives out there where the rear coupling is rigid and you don't get derailments. Sometimes it's because of incompatibilities of couplings. I've come across that problem before, mixing Hornby and Airfix coaches. Airfix coaches had smaller hooks, but once you sort that problem out, no, you, as far as I know, you don't get any problems. And we're going to, without any further ado, we're going to get round to it, and I'll start to introduce you to some of the locomotives which are actually out tonight. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll turn the camera around, and we're going to do a demonstration of some of these locomotives in action. Okay. Right, so the first locomotive you're going to see in action is this lovely little Mainline 56XX locomotive, an 062 tank engine. It's got the exactly, well, apart from the width of the coupling, because this one's slightly wider, but it's got the same rigid coupling arrangement as on the Bachmann, and we're going to see how it performs with coaches. Now bear in mind this model is about 40 years old, okay? In fact, we'll talk a little bit about Mainline before we get underway. They stopped making modern railway items in 1984, and that was, they didn't go out of business as such, it was a business decision, and we'll go into that in just a moment, what I mean. Now let's take this one out. Okay, so we'll follow this one out now because we want to see it going over the point. Okay, so there we are. This is the 062 tank going over the point there. Okay, so as you can see, it's on this is all second radius this here, so you've got second radius curves, second radius points, which is the bare minimum for most locomotives. First radius is more for the 040 tank engines really, as a rule. But here we go, let's have a little go now. And as you can see, over there it's easy as anything, and it did not cause the coach to derail. Now, it's all I can give you is my own personal experience. And away we go now. So we're coming back out of the station again. Now you can see over those points, absolutely fine. Right, so as the next part of the demonstration, we're just going to be going round and round and round the second radius track, just to let you see how it handles on the second radius curves. We've been going over second radius points, and there we are, it's handling the second radius curves very, very well. And in a few moments time you'll see this one going to the country station. Now, this model is very, very similar body wise to the much later Bachmann version which I recently bought. Now, if you imagine Mainline was owned by a parent company called Palitoy. Now Palitoy decided to stop making modern railway engines and equipment because they wanted to specialise in what they viewed to be more lucrative areas of the toy market. I think they wanted to do Star Wars toys and things. Well, the baton was taken up by replica railways, and then after replica railway, and then Bachmann. It was decided by the factory in Hong Kong they want to go with the name Bachmann. I think it was to give the a name that would give the whole thing more of an international appeal. And that's where you went from a lot of these mainline models over to Bachmann. In fact, a lot of the early Bachmann and replica railway models were split chassis, just like this one. And I have done videos on what constitutes a split chassis locomotive in the past. And really, what they are is that the chassis is made up out of 2 insulated plates, and the current is picked up by the wheels directly through the chassis, up to one side of the chassis and down to the other, down to the opposite rail. The advantage is that there's no wiring inside one of these locomotives. The only disadvantage is that it would be a little bit more difficult to convert one of these to DCC, but I have seen videos where it's been done. But really, the main object of this video tonight is that you can see what these locomotives perform like with various pieces of traffic. So this is operating very, very well, as you can see, with these 3 Hornby coaches. The front 2 are Hornby Railroad coaches. In fact, I bought those relatively recently. But the brake coach at the back, that's an earlier version from the 1990s. Apart from slight differences in decoration now, they're practically identical. Now you probably note that the motors in some of these older locomotives are a little bit more noisy. That's to do with the gear design and lots of other things as well. Obviously since then things have come on a long way. In defence of this model, what I would say is though, is that the motor is serviceable. You can change brushes and springs in there. And I found out when I bought this model, it wanted some TLC. I gave the gears a good clean and lube. I took the motor apart and cleaned everything. And as you can see now, it's not running too bad, is it? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come into the station in just a moment. And we're going to watch it going over points. And then we're going to take a look at the Bachmann version. Oh, and if you're interested, the mainline one, it's class 6600, well 5666, so I think they're virtually the same locomotive. It's an 062T locomotive, GWR livery, catalogue number 37038. And okay, so that's the mainline version. And when I first came into modern railways, these engines were still relatively current. I came into the modern railways in the early 1990s, and you will see a lot of mainline models still available in the shops, or the replica railways or Bachmann version. And we're going to be taking a look at something else in a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to be going over the points in just a moment, and then we'll move on to another locomotive. Okay, so round we go to the signals. And now we'll watch this locomotive going over this set of points. Okay, bear in mind all second radius stuff here. So away we go. Okay, so over it goes. And the coaches have negotiated the point very, very well there. Okay, so we're in. Fine, let's go down and take a little look at it. Look at the lovely locomotive down here. Now, it's in GWR green. Now, the body shell is very, very similar, if not identical, to what you're going to see on this much later Bachmann version, which I bought for, only about a month ago, I think. So you're going to see a comparison between the Mainline version and the Bachmann version. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at that junction over there where the goods train is, and in just a moment you'll be watching this one coming out of the station, or out of the goods shed, let's say. Okay, so what we're going to do now then is a quick demonstration of this locomotive coming out of the goods shed with a goods train. So here we go, let's just see how we get on. There we are, so we seem to be out of the goods shed quite well there. And then we're going to go forward. Okay, so that seems to have worked okay. So as you can see, it's not the coupling between the locomotive and the wagons that's causing any problems. Okay, it's not causing any problems here at all. And again, we'll come out. So there we go. So we appear to have handled the points quite well there. And then we're going to go forwards. And again, we are running on second radius curves. So let's watch this one come round past the signal box now. This is the later Bachmann. This one is in the early crest in BR black. And it's 320H5A GWR 56XX tank 6619 BR black, early emblem preserved. And that one is DCC. So whereas the previous model you saw was a split chassis locomotive, this one is in fact the more conventional type with pickups on the wheels and everything. And as you can see, it's making a very good job of propelling my little freight train. Now I can only go on personal experience, and I would say that from my point of view, I don't appear to be having too many problems with the actual coupling between the locomotive and the wagon being more or less rigid. One of the main problems I've found with trouble with coupling is where there's incompatible couplings. Now you may find that over the years, certainly where there's a difference between Dapol and Airfix and other coaches, that when you look at the actual hooks, the coupling hooks that go over, cling onto the couplings, they can be of differing lengths. And that has definitely caused me problems with derailing. I had that with some 14, the auto coaches and a 14XX locomotive, and that literally made me tear out what little hair I've got left. And but it turned out that it was the actual coupling needed to be changed so that the couplings had hooks of equal length. And see, this is running quite well. It's got the narrow type coupling. I mean, I believe the mainline one had the wider coupling. This one's got the more narrow coupling. And see, these locomotives were built between 1923 and 1928, and they amounted to 200. And this is an example of a preserved locomotive. Very, very powerful. They had they're quite heavy locomotives, so the route availability was a little bit limited. Certainly weren't allowed on some of the more lightly built branch lines, but they were originally designed for very heavy coal trains and trains going in and out of steelworks, so in South Wales. But then they were found to be useful also on passenger trains. And that's where you saw the mainline locomotive was on a passenger train. And there we go. We'll just clear that. So we're going to see another locomotive in action now, coming out of the station. And we're going to be seeing another split chassis locomotive. This is one which I bought right back in the mid 1990s. Now bear in mind back then these were still sort of viewed as more or less current models, and this is a little pannier tank pulling a one coach train like it may have done on many branches. And again, this one has a rigid rear coupling. It's a wide coupling, so it works well with the with this Hornby coach here. But that's an example of a 57 XX pannier tank. I think about 500 of these were built, weren't they? Without me doing some research. Again, it's in black, but it's in the Lake's crest. As you see, it's not a bad little runner. This is one of the locomotives that came down from the attic during lockdown, when obviously we were all isolating. I wanted to have something to do while I'm isolating, and I thought, let's revive my modern railways. And here I am now, 3 or 4 years down the line, with my hobby revived, and running a lot of locomotives which I bought back in the 1990s. And this one here is by Replica Railways. You can see the green box there, that's Replica Railways. And it's number 11002 Pannier 060BR Black 8743. Okay, so there we go. But just to underline my point that the Bachmann really took up the baton with producing these locomotives. When you look underneath this locomotive, it does actually say that it's made by Bachmann. Okay, so this is one of the very early Bachmann versions of this. Like I say, with a split chassis design. But not a bad little runner, is it? And that's what you would see going up and down the branch lines, pulling both passengers and freight. Not a bad little locomotive. And these locomotives spent quite a long time up in a cold attic. And it was really life got in the way really of my hobby in many ways. And I was glad to revive it when I did. I'm going to go around one more time with this locomotive. So we'll have a look at the very, very last locomotive here. We'll bring this one in. And it's going to be going over what I call my nightmare junction, which is it's going to be going into a second radius right hand point into a left hand point. So, and you'll see it's got a rigid coupling on it, and over it goes, over those points very, very well. Look at that. Now you're going to see the very, very last item is going to be something which would have been on both branch lines and main lines. And you can see it right there in the station. It's a GWR railcar. Okay, so out we go. Now this model is by Lima. Lima stopped production in 2004, I believe, but, or at least in the mid 2000s, Hornby have actually taken on Lima, and it's a matter of fact, a lot of the Hornby Railroad models were actually using the Lima body shells, but it's a diesel rail car. They were used for both passengers, and some were dedicated for parcels use, and this is in BR green. So these were in many ways the first of the DMUs. Running around the track very, very well. And I picked this one up, many, many years ago. There was a shop on the East Somerset Railway. Model shop, still there to this day. Lima, trying to work is Lima 205150A6 Railcar green. Is all it says is Railcar green on there. So Lima boxes tended to be like kind of silvery like this. Later on they did something called the Lima collection. But if you want to talk about prices, I mean, I bought this in the early 1990s, okay, and that cost me £33 even then, which was a fair amount of money back then. But people are complaining about the price of modern railway items. Well, they've got a lot more sophisticated, haven't they? I mean, you've got DCC, you've got chips in them, sound, lights, you name it, it's in there. This is a fairly basic model, in many ways, but still a nice little runner, as you can see. Very, very nice. Now, so this hopefully, actually, the main object of this video was originally to show you that the rear coupling on the locomotives of the 56XX, in my experience at least, have not caused me any major problems. I mean, we are going to get certainly where my track is actually put out every time I operate, because of the nature of this railway, you will get derailments every now and again. It comes part and parcel of the course, but it's not something that can be put down to the design of the coupling between the locomotive and either the carriages or the wagons. Now, if you enjoy what you've seen tonight, please press that like button. It does help my channel. And subscribe. If you're not subscribed yet, ring that little bell as well and be alerted to new videos. And tonight it's been mainly kind of branch line sort of stuff, hasn't it? 3 tank engines and a rail car. Okay, so on that note, I should bid you farewell and bye bye for now. Let's go around one more time, shall we? Here we go. There we are. Lovely.